Hello, YouTube fans. It is Sunday Bloody Sunday for the third week in a row. This is, believe it or not, the third time that I have tried to record this tutorial, and I've just been having a devil of a time with the mic on my webcam. But I think I've got it figured out for the most part, so I probably can't drink a third bottle of champagne, though originally that was the idea, was to do a champagne tutorial. So instead I thought I'd take a bunch of shots of rum and bust out some Heinekens. So at any rate, we'll start with this Heineken. I encourage everybody who's playing along at home to start off by cracking a Heineken. Now, sort of like having the right guitar for the song, or the right amp, or the right effects, or the correct ability to actually play the guitar, it often helps when drinking a Heineken to have an official Heineken glass. So I would encourage you to seek one of those out before you even attempt to play this song with the beer. That's good. I'm probably going to have two of these. All right. Without further ado then, Sunday Bloody Sunday, the third time, is the Charm edition. Let's see, I need a pick. Quickly before I get into the song, I'm just going to run through the settings for getting the sound for this tune. The sound in the room here is probably not what's translating to the webcam because the webcam mic is terrible. But at any rate, what I'm doing, I'm running through my Axe effects. I've got the 79 Strat. I'm in bridge position here, which is what I think the Edge does. And I'm trying to cop the tone from Sunday Bloody Sunday Live at Red Rocks. I think that's the coolest one, so that's what I'm going for. I'm using my CLR cab. This is probably the first tutorial or video of any kind I've done with the CLR, but I love this CLR cab. I had both this is actually the wedge version, but I had both the wedge and the cab of the prior atomic flat frequency setup, and this is just hands down a zillion times better. I mean, could not be better. So I'm very happy with it at any rate. As far as what's going on with the Axe effects, this is a very simple preset. And I'm going to do a quick demonstration here. I'm reading off of Axe Edit here. So working from front of signal to back of signal. Tell you what I've got here. I have a compressor. I have a delay block that is not activated. I have an amp block, a cab, and then a reverb. That is it. The compressor, I think every compressor sound that I ever use on these videos is just the compressor settings that I stole from the Axe Effects wiki, which is like the Dynacomp settings. So that's what it is. The only exception is that I will oftentimes tweak the output of the compressor to hit the amp a little bit harder. And I've done that in this case, and just reading it off the screen in Axe Edit, it looks like I've got this up 3 dB or 3 units on the compressor out. The amp is just, this is my basic U2 AC30 sound that I've crafted. So this is my default amp. I know that Michael's posted a bunch of settings. I'm not going to go through and just post every little tweak setting I have here. All I'll say is I didn't change it that much. Really, I think I messed with the triode hardness. I did a little bit of EQ on the GEQ in the amp block on the Axe Effects. And other than that, it's just those main settings, bass, mid, treble, and the drive setting or volume. I think my volume's dimed. But the cab, I'm using a hybrid between, or it's a stereo, it's a mix. So I'm using just the internal Axe cabs, and I'm using the blue AC30 and the silver AC30 both. I've got them mic'd with a 57 and a 58 on the other. I don't know if the Edge does that. I feel like maybe I heard that once, but when I build these presets, I just use my ears. Maybe if you know some of the gear setups, starting there is a good point, or it's a good starting point if you know, oh, the Edge uses this or uses that. But for me, I listen generally. And then there's a very, very light mix of reverb at the end of the signal chain here to just sort of round out the tone when I play it live. Okay, so that's that. Before I get into the sound, well, actually, and then what I do, I dime my volume, and then I roll it back ever so slightly. The reason I do that is because I think that gives me the right amount of drive for the tone that I'm going for. But then also, sometimes like if I'm playing this live, when I get to the solo, I'll just roll the volume all the way up to give it just a little bit more bite during the solo. And then sometimes I'll finish out the tune with the volume up a little bit more distorted. But that's just my personal preference. I don't know that the Edge does that. So Actually, I don't know if the Edge does anything that I do, but this is how I do it. Okay, so here's basically what the sound is of the guitar. Main lick, you know. So, okay, that's what that is. And the reason that I did that is because I want to explain something that I do that's just a little bit of a pointer about how to dial in sounds. So I'm working on Red Rocks, trying to get that sound on Sunday Bloody Sunday. What I do is I try to think about the fact that the Edge, right, he's not using an Axe-FX, or at least at this point he's not. So he's using an actual amp. So he's not going to be running back and screwing around with his amp settings during song. He has other tools, pedals and such, that he's going to plug in and modify the sound of that core amp with other pieces of gear that are in front or behind the amp, you know, from the board. So the point is that you really, as you're building presets for different songs on U2 stuff, you shouldn't, I think, be going in and screwing with the AC30 settings. Once you get that nice U2 setting that works for you, you should use the other things in your arsenal to shape the tone that amp makes, because that's most likely what the Edge is doing. You're going to get yourself, I think, all muddled up from preset to preset if you start messing with that core amp sound. And I know Michael's videos talk a lot about that core amp sound, and that is really key. Dial in that amp, then use other pieces of gear, whether virtually inside an Axe-FX or pieces of gear that you actually own, to shape the tone from there. And an idea of what I mean by that, as I was working on this, I would, for example, the reason that I had the delay block in this preset that's not active, I would work on my Sunday Bloody Sunday sound, then I would turn on the delay block. Let's see, on. How come that's not working? Oh no, maybe it's because I got Axe Edit running, and Axe Edit is weird. Well, I'll engage it. Okay, now I've got that delay going. So I would work on Sunday Bloody Sunday, then I would jump over to like Electrico, for example, and play that. And I would try to dial in that sound in my Sunday Bloody Sunday preset, same preset, but just by adding delay. And what I did is, as I got closer to dialing in that Electrico sound, then I would just turn the delay off, go back into Sunday Bloody Sunday, and wouldn't you know it, I'm a little bit closer now to my Sunday Bloody Sunday sound. Because by changing that core amp sound in another song, I'm getting closer to the way that core amp sound should be for songs like Sunday Bloody Sunday, where really all it is the amp, and maybe, like, for example, for me, a compressor. So that has nothing to do with the song, but there you go. That's how I get there when I'm dialing in my tones. Okay, into the tutorial then. There's roughly, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 parts to this song, generally speaking. So we'll go through them one by one very quickly, and then I'll break them down. First part, this is the main lick. Then there's this little transition part in between the main lick and the chords, which is the how long must we sing this song part. Then the chords, root chords of B. Then there's the harmonic part, then the solo, which I'll spare you right now, and then there's a mute picking part for the breakdown at the bridge, which is that part. Okay, main lick, it's a D. Some people like to play a D like this D chord like this. That's okay, you can do that, and then you put your pinky on right here on the G string at 4th fret, and that's your position. I'm not doing it that way. What I like to do is bar across the top 3 strings at 2nd fret with my 1st finger. Then I make this D shape by putting my 2nd finger on here, 3rd fret on the B string. And then I use this 3rd finger rather than my pinky, though you could very easily use your pinky there, to play this 4th fret G string note. So that's how I arrange my fingers to play it. That works for me, but you can do it however you want. But the key is, it's this D shape, but with this added note. So the first part, that's just hitting G string, B string, E string, B string. Then you take this finger off of 4th fret on the G string, so it's just the D shape. You're just picking through a D with the exact same picking pattern. Then you take off this barred finger, and all you're fretting at this point is the 2nd finger on 3rd fret of the B string. Same picking again. Very simple. Like a lot of U2 songs, very simple but very elegant, very cool sounding. The last pass, the picking is a little bit different. The fretting is the same, where you're just fretting this 3rd fret on the B string, but the very last pass, this would be the second to last and last pass. So bum bum ba dum. So this is basically G string, B string, E string, B string, G string. Bum ba da bum. Bum, ba, da, bum. Oh, that's weird. You can see the reflection of my screen in my guitar pickguard. It's like an MC Escher painting. Like, you could just look at it for infinity. Do not take any psychedelic drugs and watch this video. Only drink. That's the main lick. Okay, so then out of the main lick we have the how long part. First chord in the how long part, this is just a D chord. How long must we sing this song? Because tonight into the chords. Again, this is a B. It's actually a B minor. It's barred. So this is just bar across all 6 strings at 7th fret. Then take these 2 fingers here, your pinky and your 3rd finger. 3rd finger is A string at 9th fret. Pinky finger is D string at 9th fret. That's the first chord. Second chord is just a 3-string power chord. So this would be this D here, which is 5th fret on the A string, followed by this A here, which is 7th fret on the D string. And then also you want to bar your pinky and catch the octave here. This is an octave. This is also a D, 7th fret on the G string. Those are the notes, just those 3. So the B minor and then the D. And then you're just sliding this exact position up so that now you're rooting up here G, which is 10th fret on the A string, and then again barring the next higher 2 strings at 12th fret. So 12th fret on the D string, 12th fret on the G string to catch this octave, right? Oh. And the note in between that 5th. The strumming is interesting because it's sort of maybe what you would call like off beats or like on the end beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Something I've noticed about the Edge when he plays this song sometimes, it seems like he's sort of maybe purposefully or unconsciously playing a little bit behind the beat on the first chord and a little bit ahead of the beat on these other 2 chords. So it's sort of like he's going, that downstroke is a little bit, it feels a little long or a little delayed. Again, I'm not saying play it on the next beat or on the and beat or anything, like play it on time, but it feels a little dragged when the edge plays it. Whereas on the other two, they seem almost a little quick, so it kind of gives it, although I'm playing it exaggerated, it gives it this sort of feel where it's like. Hope that makes sense. Don't go crazy with that or you're going to sound like you can't play on tempo, but just maybe if you think about this chord being a little bit over the beat and the other two being a little bit ahead of the beat, just think about that in your head. Don't try to do it. Just imagine that that's how it's going to come out, and I think that's a good way to get the feel of the song. The next thing then is there's a little tag at the end of that. I think it's maybe like the second pass of that. The edge will take this position, which is this G chord, and he'll slide it up a whole step up to A and then back down. And then, of course, back into the lick. Then it's the harmonics. Okay, first two harmonics are both 7th fret harmonics. First string is the D string, second string is the G string. That sounds like the notes at the beginning of Personal Jesus by Depeche Mode. I don't know if that's true, but that's what it just reminded me of. So those are the first two harmonics. Then the next two are the exact same strings, but just drop that down to 5th fret. So 5th fret harmonics, D, G. And then the last two are, these are B followed by G string. I'm going to get in here close on these. One thing to do, always do this. Always do this. At the end of that pass, you have to do the little headstock shake to make, I mean, it actually does affect the sound, but most importantly, it looks like you know what you're doing when you do that. You do this. Yeah. Really what I'm doing, I'm pushing this against my hip bone, and then I'm pulling on the neck, so it's slightly taking the strings out of tune. So that, I mean, there's a real point to doing it other than looking cool, but the looking cool is the more important thing than getting the vibrato out of the strings. So, okay, that's how you do that part. Harmonics done. That leaves us with the solo and the mute picking part. Okay. Solo, I'll run through it and then I'll break it down. That's more or less it. That wasn't the cleanest I've ever played that, but at any rate, what you're doing here, you're on the E string, you're jumping back and forth between 12th fret and 10th fret, then you're jumping back and forth between 12th fret and 10th fret on the B string. On each string, you're hitting the adjacent string open with it. So here you're hitting B string open while you're playing and fretting E string. Then fretting B string and hitting B and G. And then you can really ride that G string all the way down the neck. This is. 10, 10, 8, 8, 7, 5. This part, I think this is a little slide from second to third. Open, open. Gotta hit all three strings, top three strings, E, B, and G, when you fret that last 12th fret note. So, okay, back up then. 10, 10, 9, 10 on the B string, 12 on the B string. Gotta catch that open E. That's B and E together, and then G and B together, and then all three at the end. That's pretty much it. I may be missing some of the nuance in there, but for the most part, that's how you do it. I need to get bottoms up here because the song's almost over and I don't want to have beer left over at the end of the song. Okay, last part. The mute pitting. Mute pitting. That's funny. The mute picking part, or scraping part. This is cool. So, okay, there's all kinds of stuff going on in here. I highly doubt that the Edge has this all planned out. I think he's basically just jamming, other than there's sort of one common theme that happens in here, and it involves what I think you would describe as like a triplet. I'm not a drummer, but I think you would maybe call it a triplet, and playing on some of these offbeats. So here's roughly how this scrape pick part goes, and then I'll break it down. So it's like. That's really the main important part. That's the tag. The other thing is when you're playing this, you should be muting out the strings around 7th fret because those notes are in the key of the song. You can kind of hear some tone being generated there. If you do it up here, it's going to be weird. If you do it down here, it's going to be weird. People will think you're playing Drowning Man if you play that. So. Can you play that? I mean, that'd be cool. Even faster, maybe? I don't know. You don't have to play it fast. You have to just play it the normal tempo, but that's what that is. think that's all the parts. So I'll just finish drinking my beer. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and pray that the webcam microphone actually worked and that this video isn't my third week of a bust video where I just drank a bunch of alcohol and played Sunday Bloody Sunday for no reason. What I should do is someday release a Sunday Bloody Sunday blooper reel from the past 2 weeks. That'd be great. And now I'm actually feeling very inspired. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get another beer, I'm going to do another shot, and then I'm going to make a tutorial for a different song right now. Enjoy.